Runs 100 Miles fans. It is time for a little Monday confessions. It is the end of training week 8. 8 definitely fantastically went better than the previous couple of weeks. So I ended up at 31 and a half miles. That sounds right. I did a 3.5 miler, a 13 and a half, and a 14 and a half. The 13 and a half and the 14 and a half were back to back, so a Friday and a Saturday. I did a little video on each of them for you. So the first video I'm going to cut to is on my 13 and a half miler. I tried something a little different just to kind of get myself used to stopping and used to eating real food more on the trail. And so on my 13 and a half miler, I set up kind of a little aid station, for lack of a better word, at my truck, Sequoia, SUV, whatever you want to call it. And so my plan was I did 30 minutes out, 30 minutes back, and then stopped at my car, ate, did whatever I needed to do, then headed out again and did that until I had reached my 13 and a half miles. It was kind of funny because on that day, I started early in the morning. When I say early in the morning, it was like 9:30, not super early. But I started then and it was like 35 degrees. So I had on some long pants, some comfy socks, my Brooks Trail shoes, of course, a long sleeve t-shirt from Columbia, and just like a moisture wicking short sleeve t-shirt over it. And then my Cuddle Dud gloves and hat. Because it was chilly, and since it had been a while since I had done a long run in the cold, I wasn't really sure how soon my body would shake off that chills. And so like maybe a half a mile into the first mile, the gloves came off. Oh, I also had on a vest, a Fila kind of warm weather vest. So within maybe like a half a mile, gloves were off, they were in the pockets, and then I worried the entire time about losing them because I had just bought them. So by the time I did that first down and back, the gloves got dropped off at the car, the vest got dropped off at the car, and so then I did 30 minutes out, 30 minutes back, and at that point the Cuddle Dud hat got switched out for a hubby just walked in, got switched out for a headband. A junk headband from Rush Running. And then by the third time I came back, I was like, dude, it's just hot, because it had gone from 35 degrees when I started, and it was about mid 50, so 55, 56 at that point. So on the side of the road, take off both shirts, separate them, put the just a short sleeve shirt back on, finished my run up that way. Saturday was a completely different story. So I had some stuff going on in the morning. I had to do a work thing. I had to do a women's ministry meeting. And so children. And so I wasn't able to start that run until, I think it was about 3:40 in the afternoon. And I knew it was going to take me, I don't know, I figured 4.5 to 5 hours. I was just kind of guessing. And so it was a beautiful 55 degrees. So I'm in my BCG Academy, the Academy of the store. They have some great, they call them biker shorts. They're not really for bikers, but they're great because they're high-waisted and they're about 5 inches long, 6 inches long. And since I'm so tall, I feel like they're good to wear because they're high-waisted and they're super soft, but I don't have to worry about yanking them around because they're so short and they're riding up in places. So I had on that, and then I think a t-shirt, and then I had a jacket with me, but I didn't, I don't know, I didn't have it with me when I first started. But by the time I think at that time I decided, all right, I'm going to do 3 miles. So 3 miles there, 3 miles back, and then stopped off at my car, put my jacket back on, had to take my hydration pack off and all that kind of stuff. And so Saturday was actually the first time that I did some night trail running, which if you've never done that, it's a whole different level of in your mind crazy. So it wasn't scary. There were a few moments where I'm like, oh Jesus, and dear Lord, please let there be a squirrel. So I did miles 1 through 8.5 on the trail, and of course everything. And about 8.5 miles in is when it got dark. And so I did 8.5 to 12 with my headlamp in the dark trail. And then by that point it was, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock, I can't remember, something like that. And so, maybe earlier than that, I can't remember now, math. And so then I did 12 through 14 and a half just on our local trail. Well, it's called a trail, it's called the Greenway, but it's a paved trail. And I kind of did that mainly just because I was like, I kind of want, it's getting late, I kind of want to be around some people's. But still in the dark, so I still had my headlamp, still kind of getting used to that whole at night thing. It was super weird because that day, like I said, on Friday, it started at 35. By the time I was done, it was like 55. It was beautiful. Exact opposite, almost to the exact same temperatures on Saturday. Started out at like 55, beautiful weather. By the time I got done, I don't know what time it was like 35 degrees, and my hands were freezing because I had no gloves. My legs were okay because obviously they're the ones moving and doing most of the work, but it still was really, really cold. So for those 2 runs, I thought I'd do a couple of videos. I just realized I totally squirreled and forgot to continue with the video. So here real quick is just a look at how I kind of set up my aid station in my the back of my Sequoia. So check this out and I'll be back in just a second. Hey everybody, so I am getting ready to head out on a long run. It's November 1st, approximately like 9:30 in the morning. It is currently 35 degrees. It was 27 earlier today when I took the kids to school, so yay, it's gone up in temperature. But I wanted to show you just real quick kind of what I'm doing. So those of you who haven't done really long runs, you should always train your long run like you're going to your race. So your long runs are your time to test out food, to test out nutrition, to test out gear and all that kind of stuff. So I am parked. I wonder if it'll let me flip it. No, it's not gonna let me flip it. So I'm currently parked, if you can see, right over there is the entrance to Blowing Springs, which means right there behind the woods is the beginning of the Back 40 trail here in Bella Vista. So what I did is I parked my car here, and I'm going to be using it as kind of an aid station kind of thing, as a touch point. So my plan is to run from here. I can actually hit 3 different base trails in different directions. So my plan is to start here, run probably 2.5 miles back. That'll put me at 5. Hit my aid station, which I'll show you in a second. Then do that until about 1:30, and then life happens and I have to pick up kiddos. So for the next 5 hours, is that 5? 4.5? Maybe, yeah, something like that. I'm just gonna be doing that. Hopefully we'll get around 15 miles is my rough goal. So that's the plan. So here is my little aid station. So this is my hydration pack. I've got filled with water and my Tailwind, and it also has somewhere in one of these pockets some, hopefully you can see, some blocks and some goos. Yeah, there we go. In case I want something on the way. It's also got I've got some PB&Js and some peanuts and a Lar bar, and I've also got a protein shake and a banana to eat afterwards or during if I get hungry. I also have Halloween balloons because, you know, yesterday. I also have some plain water because sometimes after you're doing this for a while, drinking the super sweet, looking rough, but that's okay. It's okay. Tailwind after a while kind of gets to you. I also wanted to do this because obviously I've got gloves and a vest and a hat on right now because it is super chilly. But in the next, 4 or 5 hours, it's supposed to get up into the mid-50s. So all of this gear will no longer be necessary. So, I have a headband too up there so I can transition from this to a headband. So I wanted to give myself the option to be able to drop these here, and that way I don't have to risk losing them on the trail. So here goes, gonna head out, and I will let you know how it goes later. So that is my temporary aid station while I go out for this long run training for the Badger 100. So I will see you guys later. So that was my first try into trying to have some semblance of organization in my long runs. Normally I kind of carry everything with me. So on the run on Saturday, I did a couple of pit stops at my car, but they were longer, so it was closer to like 2 hours in between pit stops, which is longer than I probably would have at most ultra running. Most ultra running races are anywhere from 5 to 9 or 10 miles. So it just depends on what race you're at, how far apart they are. So the Saturday one, I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of show you what it looks like when you're running in the dark. So I did just a short video right when I hit about 8.5 miles, just to kind of be like, all right, gonna jump off into the foray of darkness running. And so that's this video, so check this one out real quick. All right, friends, doing one of my first night runs. I am 8.5 miles into a 14.5 miler. So the plan is to do these 6 in the dark, and I am about 2.5 miles from my home base, which is where my car is in Blowing Springs. So my plan is here in just a second to flip back. That way I can be close to my car in the dark and just do some half a mile out and backs from where my car is, just for safety. And since this is my first time running in the dark, yeah, so gonna give this darkness a try. Got my trusty headlamp. I would tell you what kind it is, but I don't know. I'll figure that out and put it in the notes or something. So here's to running in the dark. So it's dark. It's actually not too bad if you're not in the tree cover, but when you are in the tree cover, okay, I'm gonna turn my lamp off just for a second so you can see how dark it really is here in the tree cover. So not horrible yet, but a little spookily. Yesterday I was running even in the broad daylight, and I was listening to a podcast from the Try Guys, and they were talking about them and some people that work for them had spooky experiences, and I had to turn it off because I was like, I am alone in the woods listening to spooky stuff and I can't do it. So I'm actually currently listening to an old 10 Junk Miles where he interviews Derek Murphy, the marathon investigator. So it's kind of the first time they did their kind of let's get to know each other, potentially argue kind of thing. So it's just fascinating. If you haven't watched listen to or whatever, the marathon investigator, he basically investigates cheaters within the sport of running. So it's pretty fascinating. So I'm gonna put my headlamp back on. I'm gonna keep going for a few. I'm gonna flip around. I'm gonna finish this bad boy up in the dark later. So that was 8.5 miles, and it still was kind of light, but of course when you're under the tree cover it seems so much darker. There's not a whole lot of sun peeking through. So I got to my 8.5, and then my flip was at 9 miles anyway, so I went another half a mile and got substantially darker. And then so I flipped back, and then I thought it would be kind of fun, so I had a headlamp on. I'm still trying to figure out the best, because I run with a hat a lot of times, but a lot of times when you put the headlamp above the brim, it doesn't always hit the ground super well. So I'm still trying to work out the best way to do that, but I thought it would be kind of funny to show you kind of what my viewpoint was. So this is probably mile, I don't know, 11-ish, somewhere between 10 and 11, where you can kind of see that all I can see is like maybe like 4 to 5 feet in front of me in one little circle about this big. So check out this video, it's kind of funny. All right, still dark. You're kind of seeing my hat light keeps being floppy and not hitting the road correctly, but you can kind of see what I'm seeing. Not much. I'm at mile, I think, almost 11. So I've got about 3.5 left. Not too bad. I am about, I don't know, about a mile-ish. Mile 12 is about where my car is. So, been in the dark now for, I have math, 2.5 miles? Is that math correctly? Yes, because I think I started at 8.5. So, there you go. So I've got about, I think, 3.5 more miles in the dark. I don't know if you can really see what's going on, but there you go. So, you see what I see? There you go. All right, peace out. Back to running. So that was week 8 of training. Still have about 38 weeks left. It was kind of funny. I was actually originally going to run the Chicago 50-50. So they have a 50K 50 miler on the Chicago lakefront. And probably about 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, something like that, I had kind of been training with that in mind, and I just really felt like we have so much going on in this kind of season, like just fall with soccer and all that kind of stuff, that I just didn't want to add more stress to myself when I'm already doing so much and running so much. And so I'm really thankful that God kind of talked me down from that ledge and be like, maybe that's not the time, because it was definitely would have added a lot of stress into a life that was already, the last few weeks have been pretty stressful. So it would have been fun to do and been able to say I ran my first ultra this past weekend. But from a personal and relational point of view, it was the right decision, and I'm glad I made it a long time ago and made it before I put any money down on it, and because, you know, no one wants to lose that money, and I don't think they transfer bibs or anything like that. So this week, so scheduled for 66 or 68, it'll be interesting, excuse me, to see if that happens. Mainly because I'm traveling Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Every year I do a retreat at a bed and breakfast up in Missouri with just some friends I've had for like over a decade, and my sister-in-laws and my mother-in-law and stuff. And so just figuring out, I've already had my runs mapped out based off of, you know, kid schedules, my work schedule, and that kind of thing. So I'll have 2 runs while I'm there. But I went ahead and just did my longer run for on Wednesday. 2 reasons. Number one, I didn't want to do my long run there and be away from everybody for so long, but also there's really no trail, and this will be my Wednesday run is a 20 miler, and I've never done over 18 on the trail. And so I wanted to make sure that the first time I hit that big 2.0, that it was more like race conditions, and it was trail, and it was kind of just trying to hone some of those long run trail skills, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity up there. My second longest run of the week is going to be a 15 miler, and I am going to go ahead and just do that up there, just get up early on Saturday, knock out 15. It's in kind of a little country town in Missouri, so I can't decide. I might either stay there and just do it on the little country roads, or I might just drive into Springfield. It's like 30 minutes, and they have a really beautiful kind of nature center, that kind of thing. So my 15 miler will be road, and then just fitting in all the small ones in between there is our plan, or my plan. So there you go. That is week 8. That is the confessions. That it was pretty good. I took a fun picture on the Saturday run. I had gone to a new part of the trail. I guess I've been on that trail before, but never that far. And it was kind of technical in a few places, like climbing some rocks and stuff. But I found this really cool kind of rock thing. And so whipped out the self-timer on my phone and took a fun little picture. So I'll put that here at the end. So gearing up for week 9. And I hope you will continue on this journey with me. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.